Good morning, Marvelous Internet. My name is Melody B, and today I'm taking you through another janky deck tech in Pauper. Previously, we looked at Zombies, which is a spicy red-hot deck. Definitely check that out if that piques your interest. It is the video posted prior to this that you can find on my channel. This time, we're going to be looking at Soldiers in Pauper. So this deck here, I believe, is about on par with other White Weenie lists that I've seen in the Pauper format. Like other White Weenie lists, it is going to struggle against Tron. I guess you're just gonna have to hope and pray. But it is about on par with other White Metalcraft decks and other White Weenie value decks with just a good creature curve to them. So this one here does have some light soldier synergies, but it's pretty convenient. Most White Weenie lists are going to be running a lot of soldiers anyway, so it's not that much of a stretch to add in a couple of tribal cards. The first one being Veteran Armorsmith gives all of your creatures +0/+1. Not to be confused with Veteran Armorer, which gives all of your other creatures +0/+1, but it is a 2/2, so it dies to Cannonade, and any other creatures that would have survived the Cannonade due to that buff will also go with it when it dies. So Veteran Armorsmith here is a nice way to buff up the toughness of our creatures. The other aspect of the soldiers is the Gempalm Avenger. For 3, you can cycle it, so you do get to draw a card. When you cycle it, all of your soldiers get +1/+1 and gain first strike until end of turn. So that's a pretty neat combat trick that we can be doing sometime in the mid game. Sometimes it'll close out games, but we get a lot of value off of being able to cycle this and give all of our creatures +1/+1 and first strike. It's a great combat trick. As far as the actual soldiers of the deck, we'll start with the creatures here. We've got 2 Deftblade Elites. This card is good at picking off other problematic creatures that the opponent has. You can potentially slap a Bonesplitter on it, you can buff up its toughness, and you can take out some extra creatures. We've got 2 Icatian Javelineers, excellent for shooting down fairies, unflipped delvers, any problematic X1 that you need to deal with. And of course we're running Kor Skyfisher to be able to pick up the Icatian Javelineers, redo it, as well as Thraben Inspector, classic combo. You drop it down, you get a clue, you pick it back up, you get another clue. It's just great value. We're running 1 War Falcon. This card here is the only non-soldier in the deck, but it does work with soldiers. So it does have flying. It's great for wearing a Bonesplitter as long as they don't have any little fairies or something, maybe bird tokens to block you. So this card is an excellent way to chip in damage in the air. Again, great to throw the Bonesplitter on it. Bonesplitter is one of my favorite underrated cards in Pauper. It really just ramps up the clock really fast. As far as other creatures, we've got 4 Raise the Alarm, creates 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. These creature tokens are actually surprisingly good when you start giving them toughness buffs, because then all of a sudden they become great blockers, they become great attackers that your opponent can't block profitably. All around great card to put in a White Weenie deck. Notably, it is a little bit weak to Cannonade, but we have some ways to work around that. Next creature is Loyal Cathar. This creature here, double white, is a 2/2 vigilance, and when it dies you get another creature. Notably, both the front and the back are soldiers, which is very nice, so both of those sides are going to be getting the buff. Excellent White Weenie card. We've got the Veteran Armorsmiths, as mentioned, to help buff up the toughness. Aven Riftwatcher is another card that I feel is very underrated in Pauper. We can play this down, we gain the 2 life. We can throw a Bonesplitter on it. We can pick it back up with Kor Skyfisher. If you're picking this up with Kor Skyfisher, by the time that you've played it and it's left the battlefield the second time, you've potentially just gained 8 life. 2 when it enters, 2 when it leaves, and then do it a second time. So this is another great underrated card in Pauper. I think that White Weenie list should definitely be playing this card. It's good against burn. It's good at chipping damage in the air. It's just all around a really solid creature. We've got 1 Martyr's Soul. This is a little bit of an awkward card because ideally we're going to want to be tapping 3 of our creatures to play it as a 5/4. So not running more than one because it is pretty awkward to get this stuck in your hand without the creatures to be able to put it out onto the battlefield. But it is a soldier and it's potentially a 5/4 in this deck, which is very nice. So I have one of them in this list here. Only one Veteran Swordsmith. So this is a good card, but it kind of suffers from the same syndrome that sliver decks do. You can potentially think that you have a really good attack or a really good block. You go to swing, and then all of a sudden they declare blockers, and they blow up your lord, and then all of a sudden you just get absolutely blown out. So this is a nice card, a little bit of icing on top of the cake, kind of, but I don't want to run too many of these because there are just kind of better things we can be doing for 3 mana in this deck that are a little bit more resistant to blowouts. We've got 3 Guardian's Pledge. This is going to be one of the main ways that we close out games, potentially with our soldier token, some of our flying creatures, all of our little white weenies. You swing in, you give them all +2/+2, and it's a really good way to close out the game. In that same vein, we're running 1 Ramosian Rally. This can potentially save you from things like Electrickery and Cannonade if you hold it in your hand, and it can also be used as a way to close out games as well. It can be played for free as long as you tap an untapped creature you control, and we're running plenty of planes, so we're always going to have that. Last creature up is the Palace Sentinels. Great creature you get the Monarch. This deck is pretty good at protecting it. It's a pretty tanky deck, got things in the air, got things on the ground. So pretty solid top end to our curve here. Just circling back around to the lands here, nothing special. We have a bunch of plains. We got 1 Radiant Fountain. It can be picked up with Kor Skyfisher. It is a little bit risky running a Radiant Fountain while we are running 7 cards here that need double white, 3 more if you include the Guardian's Pledge, so it's a little bit risky, but I haven't found an issue with it so far. Every once in a while you'll get that like plains Radiant Fountain hand that's a little bit awkward, but running 19 lands helps us get around that a little bit. This deck is a little bit more mana hungry than a traditional white weenie build, and then of course 2 Secluded Steppes to just be able to cycle away extra lands that we don't need onto the sideboard here. We've got 2 Fragmentize, pretty standard. Destroy artifacts and enchantments that cost 4 or less. That's going to be the majority of the ones you run into. We've got 2 Obsidian Acolytes. Not only does it have protection from black, but for 1 mana, you can give any of your other creatures protection from black. Standard Bearer, great at eating removal, great against boggles. If you throw this down, they're going to have to enchant your creature, the Standard Bearer here, with their enchantment if they are able to. So great card in a lot of different matchups. Celestial Flare, also good against boggles, decks that are aiming to suit up any creature and swing in with it, any deck that's going to be attacking with 1 or 2 main attackers. This is going to be a great card to bring in. 1 more Aven Riftwatcher, great card against burn. Dropping this down on turn 3 feels really good, especially if you can pick it back up with the Kor Skyfisher. You can buy yourself numerous extra turns against burn. Notably, you do need to hit 3 mana to get it out, but honestly, I just think this is a really good card. So I have another one in the sideboard. 1 Oblivion Ring, a little bit of a catch-all. We are running 3 Journey to Nowheres here in the main. 1 Oblivion Ring in the side just to take care of miscellaneous problematic artifacts. 3 Prismatic Strands. This is an incredibly strong card. Great at protecting against Cannonade. Great at protecting against Crypt Rats. Not the best at protecting against Pestilence, but it's going to be a great card to protect our creatures and to also protect us. If our opponent is running especially a monocolored deck, we could potentially buy ourselves 2 extra turns where we don't take any damage off of Prismatic Strands by casting it and flashing it back. Patrician Scorn here is a card that we are typically going to bring in against boggles. So we do have some Journey to Nowheres in the main. Typically those are going to be pretty awful in the boggles matchup. So we just pull out our Journey to Nowheres, we throw in a Patrician Scorn, and we hope to just absolutely blow them out by destroying all their enchantments. And last up, pretty standard, 2 Relic of Progenitus, just kind of generic graveyard hate. We don't utilize our graveyard in this deck, so it is a great option, as with any deck, to hate on the graveyard. So this is Pauper Soldiers here. It is definitely not a tier 1 deck, definitely not a tier 2 deck. We are hanging out in tier jank here with this one. Zombies might be a real deck, but this one right here struggles tremendously against Tron, and unfortunately that just kind of kicks it out of the running. It's kind of one of those unfortunate realities of the Pauper metagame right now. But very spicy list. If you are drawn to running a white weenie list, I would highly recommend giving this soldier list a spin, see how you like it, see how it compares to white metalcraft, see how it compares to other white weenie decks, and let me know what you think. That's all I have for you now in this video, and I will see you in the next one.